There's a lot of reasons why someone might choose to move out of the city into the country to pursue a homesteading type of life. And for us, it was a few different reasons. We wanted the land to play around in, have some fun. We wanted to be a little more remote where it was quiet, and we wanted to take our health more seriously. When we moved out here in 2021, it was during that big event that was going on, and we wanted to be more intentional about our health. And so in today's video, I'm going to share 3 ways that homesteading has impacted our health since moving out here. The number one way that our health has been impacted for the better, I believe, comes, no surprise, from our food. Growing our own food has been an absolute game changer for us, and we've chosen to do things as naturally as possible and as organic as possible. That means no chemicals on the produce, that means no pesticides, no herbicides, all natural, if you will. And the reason that we chose to do this is because growing organic and growing your own food more specifically, we know exactly what goes into it. We know where the soil comes from, we know the type of seeds that we're planting, and we know the care that's being given to these plants throughout the year. I'm certainly not a doom and gloom or someone that wants to perpetuate any sort of fear or anything like that. I'm a pretty optimistic guy. But I think it's kind of scary if you go down the rabbit hole of mass-produced food and what goes into producing food at such a large scale. It's not ideal, I don't think. And this is not a debate on conventional farming versus permaculture farming versus, organic farming, anything like that. That's not a debate that I care to get into because I don't feel like I'm qualified to talk on that. But for us, the decision to grow organic and grow as much of that organic produce as we could is what I believe has been the number one game changer in our health. We try and grow all kinds of foods. So we have, here is our tomato, some of our tomato plants, some of our many tomato plants. But we grow lots of things. We grow potatoes, we grow onions, we grow peppers, we're growing sunflowers this year for sunflower seeds, so that should be interesting. Squash, zucchini, we have fruit trees that are not yet producing, but hopefully in future years our fruit and our berry bushes will produce, but we do have some wild stuff that I'm going to show you. And so is this all of the food that we eat? Absolutely not. Definitely not. I would say at its peak summertime harvest, maybe 75% of our produce comes from stuff that we've grown, but that's at the peak. Now, in an ideal world, would we be growing and raising everything ourselves? Absolutely, but it takes a lot of time to get there, I think. And one of the topics that this channel's talked about a lot too is community sufficiency, not necessarily just self-sufficiency. So having a place where you can go get maybe your meat or go get some of your dairies within the local community, I think is just as important as trying to do everything yourself. And another thing that I try and get across in almost every single video is you don't need a ton of land to do this. You can grow a lot of food in a small footprint area. You can grow things in containers. You can grow things scaling up that vine up. There's just so many different ways to grow food and to be responsible and to know exactly what kind of food is that you're growing and then what kind of food is that you are eating and consuming. So don't let space be a limiting factor. One thing that is super cool about this property is there's random raspberry and blackberry bushes all over. So in the front we have a bunch of wild raspberries, and then in the back we have a bunch of wild blackberries. So it's tough to beat free fruit, especially when you didn't plant it or really do anything to maintain it or grow it. And we don't get a ton every year, maybe a few pints every summer. It's tough to complain about free fruit. It was tasty and organic. Grow wild raspberries, I guess, is the point of this point. And supplying healthy food is not limited just to fruits and vegetables. One way that we grow our own food, or raise our own food, I guess if you will, is right behind me here, and that's our eggs. We get about 18 eggs a day from our chickens and our ducks, which is a ton for 2.5, half being our little 1-year-old for 2.5 people. So we try and get creative with with the recipes that we are using the eggs in and everything. Because too, this has been a huge impact on our health because we know that the animals are being treated ethically. We know that they are being raised as organically as possible, and they get to get out. They get to free range on this beautiful space that we have. And so I believe that that is creating the most nutrient dense, healthy egg possible. Now currently we don't do meat or dairy, though we do have an organic farm that we get our dairy from, and we do have a grass-fed beef supplier that we get our beef from as much as we can. Every once in a while we still go to the grocery store. But we believe that those choices of maybe spending a little bit more money on the highest quality food, we believe that in the long term is going to pay off for our health. So again, not saying right or wrong, this is just what we have chosen to do, and we hope that it pays dividends in the future. On to number 2. Second way that this homesteading life has made us more healthy, and it's definitely one that is not for the faint of heart and one not to be overlooked, and that's just how physical this lifestyle can be at times. Whether it's hauling feed bags, hauling water to animals, tilling the soil, building fences or structures, chasing the random runaway animal, i.e. like for us it's our dogs, maybe it's a goat or a chicken or something like that for other folks, but it's constantly, every day we are challenging our bodies in a good way, and it requires us to be physically strong, physically fit, good cardio, good endurance, all that fun jazz, especially when you're doing it in the summertime. Like right now I'm in our woodshed. It's July, and I know that I have to get this woodshed filled by like the end of August. Otherwise, we're not going to have wood for the winter. And that's a huge task. That's like, I don't know how many, this is like maybe, I don't know, 15 hours worth of cutting up wood and chopping wood. That's a lot of work, and it's great. I love it, but it's a lot of work. And so it requires us to be healthy, and it requires us to push our bodies, which makes us ideally healthier. In a lot of ways, we gave up many conveniences when we moved out here, and we were forced to be more physically active being out here. Both Sarah and I grew up with athletic backgrounds. We always played sports. We always tried to, work out and keep on top of our health. But speaking just for me, I definitely, after college, kind of let that slip. You get busy with work, you get busy with figuring out what you want to do with your life, all that stuff. And I was less than consistent, I would say, with my working out. And having moved here now for 3 years, I would say I'm much more consistent. I'm in much better physical shape than I was, kind of in that stretch of lullness, if you will. And it's not even out of like discipline or just like this strong will to be physically fit. It's honestly out of necessity. There really is no slow times. And when you're in the spring, you're outside constantly planting, building things. In the summer, we're preparing wood. We're staying on top of our garden, making sure it doesn't go crazy. Today, for example, our riding lawnmower, the engine literally blew up. Shards of metal and smoke came out. It was crazy. I wish I had a video of that. But I still had to mow the lawn, so I got the push mower out and I push mowed 2.5 acres of lawn. So things like that, always come up, and you're always challenged. In the winter, you're shoveling, you're blowing snow, we haul water, buckets of water to our animals because the hoses would be frozen and we wouldn't be able to do that. So always physically stretched, which is good. And I think other homesteads probably have a lot more physical chores to do, like actual, farms. They're doing a lot more physical labor even than we are doing. So if you want to get in shape, homesteading might be a great way to do that. I think last but certainly not least is the peace that we've been able to find out here. There's something to be said about waking up and not hearing cars, not hearing traffic, not hearing neighbors or other city noises, I guess. And you walk outside and you hear birds. We hear our birds, our chickens. In the winter sometimes it's just silent, and that's tough to find. One of the reasons we moved out here was to be able to try and live a simpler life, a quieter life. It's not always like that. Certainly not. We both work jobs, we're both still plugged in very much to society, but there are moments, and I think those moments have a profound impact on someone's health. At least for me, I know different anxieties, different worries, whatever, has kind of seemed less important. It's very transcendental out here. You feel, in a lot of ways, you feel small. And I think that's a good thing. We've learned to slow down. We've learned to enjoy the simple things. We've learned to be much more present. Our free time is really spent kind of outdoors and with each other, going on walks, hiking in the woods, spending time with the animals in the garden, spending time just sitting, enjoying a nice beverage and just chatting. And it's kind of out of necessity because we don't really have a ton of entertainment options out here. We're not really going out to restaurants. We're not really going out to different community events because there's just not a ton, which is, for some people they need that, but for us we've enjoyed just trying to live more slowly and trying to be present in all the moments that we have with each other, with our families, and with friends, and yeah, I think that's had a great impact on our health. I really do. So there you have it, the 3 ways that this homesteading life has impacted our health. Number 1, first and foremost, has been through the food that we've grown, the food that we know where it comes from. 2 is the physical nature of this lifestyle. We're constantly stretching ourselves, challenging ourselves physically. And 3 is the peace and the mental aspects that you're able to find. And the kitty. So I want to know, if you are currently living the homesteading life, how do you think it's impacted your health? Or if you're trying to maybe live a little bit more self-sufficiently, homesteading, whatever you want to label it, what do you hope that you can receive from that lifestyle? I'll be curious to know. My name is Austin, and my wife and I, Sarah. This is the Cypress and Sparrow Homestead. We'll see you in the next video. Peace.